Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. October the 29th is our day. Pete Belcastro, one of the real estate guys with you here today. I'm a real estate broker with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics. And through 7.5 years and 350-some shows, we have yet to run out of things to say. And today's going to no different with that. I'll guarantee you that, because Trevor Boucher and Jeffrey Nagel, two John L. Scott agents, are in the house today here in KMED. Well, to talk about the market, fellas. First of all, it's nice to have you here. The weather has changed a lot, hasn't it? And with that, everybody goes, the real estate market's going to go and, goes down in the tanks, and it's cold and people don't want to go do things. Hey, fellas, that's really not the case, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah?
No, there's still people out there looking to buy homes.
Yeah, that's really good. Trevor, you were here before with us. Nice to have you back. You and your wife, Gina, have a team at John L. Scott. What's the market been like? Tell us your impression here as we were into the end of October. What's it been like for you?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me back. So our impression of the market, the number one thing that sticks out is still just the lack of inventory.
Still, that's number one, isn't it? We've been talking about that for months and months. Well, maybe even a couple of years now, as it hasn't. The inventory is just not enough of it.
Well, there certainly isn't. And new construction continues to gain traction.
Yeah.
Looks like in East Medford alone, year to date, it looks like there's been about 80 homes that have sold. Mm-hmm. That's compared to 79 for all of last year, and that's just in East Medford alone.
And I think that when you look at over time, East Medford is the catalyst in the new construction area. For the Valley. I mean, that's where seems like most things out in White City also being built, but it's good to see the construction industry back doing well as they have. Jeffrey, what about you in terms of the market here in October? What has it been like? Have you seen, for listeners as they ponder buying, selling, what they want to do? What's your impression of things?
Well, I think Trevor's hit the nail on the head there in terms of new construction. The market has been very hot, hasn't really slowed down at all. We keep expecting a slowdown. That's sort of normal for this time of the year, is that the market will slow down a little bit during the winter months. It really hasn't happened. I think what's going on is there's so many people who want to buy and relatively so few properties that the pressure is just not letting up at all.
Well, it seems like the influx, the demand is truly not slowed down. For across the board, and we're talking about, I think in all price categories. Is that what you guys tend to think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely in all price categories, but especially in the 350,000 and less.
Yeah, and that's just very little inventory there. That's why you're still seeing multiple offers, and we've talked about all those kinds of things. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. I'm really curious as we go into November, and the holiday season starts again, because as you guys say, and it's really important to, I think, people understand that if we go into the winter time now, a lot of people say, and I've had people say to me, well, I'm going to wait until spring, and I'm in that category myself in some ways.
Pete, you need to get going, my friend.
Because every indication says that I should not wait until the spring, that I should actually put it on the market now, even if I'm not quite ready for it. I don't know if that's really true or not, but anyway, what is it about winter that we think it slows down, but in fact the demand seems to be still there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the demand is still there. You've still got a backlog of buyers, people that have been wanting to get into the market, that are looking every day at what's out there and not seeing what they want. And when that one property pops up, you get a multiple offer situation, that turnkey, priced right property. It's always going to be, if it's 350,000 or less, chances are a multiple offer situation.
And I know that our listeners hear us talk about that. I'll just give you my quick example. I had a listing that was up near Merlin in Josephine County, went on the market one day. The first day it was on, there were 5 showings and 3 offers came in on that first day.
I'm not the least bit surprised.
I've never had that. I've never had that kind of a thing before.
No, I'm not surprised.
But you're not surprised by that.
No. Well, see, here's the deal. One of the things that happens in this market is that people who are selling houses, a lot of times will get a little greedy. They'll think, well, we can jack the price up.
Right.
And the problem is, on those, they'll put it on the market with a high price, and it'll just sit there. So the key is, if it's well priced and well presented, and that's why you want an expert at presenting your property for you.
Right.
If it's well priced and well presented, it's going to go fast, and it's going to go with multiple offers. It'll drive the price up. You start too high, is going to sit on the market. You'll end up getting less in the long run.
Jeff's absolutely right. You'll have the opposite effect. You don't want to take the risk of pricing it too high, and then it doesn't sell. It becomes stagnant. People will have the idea that there's something wrong with it,
Right.
and it's just a downward spiral.
It is absolutely your case. Go ahead.
Well, and there's another point to all this, and that is this. Let's say you do raise the price high, and you do find someone who's willing to buy it. At some point, you're going to have an appraiser come along to take a look at that property. I think we may talk about appraisers a little later on today. And if that appraiser is going to tell you what it's really worth, and you may find yourself suddenly thinking, well, I'm not going to get that great golden egg like I thought I was going to get.
Well, sure seems like if you have a house listed and it's been sitting there for 3-4 months, 5 months, 6 months, you're probably overpriced, right?
You probably need
that's
to.
just got to come down.
Yeah, you probably need to reconsider repositioning the property in the market by reducing the price.
Yeah, because it's not that there aren't people out there willing to buy these. It's just at the price. And no one, and you're right, Jeffrey, the appraiser makes a difference in keeping people balanced, I think, in terms of what they think their places are worth. And that's going to be an issue, and it can kill deals. So you got to have that balancing act there of the price, and it's got to meet an appraisal. All
Absolutely.
All right. So what else is going on? Tell me about new construction. I know, Trevor, when you were here last time, a number of months ago, you were being involved. It was very exciting news to hear from you as a broker that you were involved with some developments that were going on in East Medford, I believe in West Medford too.
Right.
So tell me how those are going. What's going on with them today?
Well, I'd be more than happy to tell you about them. The one in East Medford
And that's
is
Innsbrook Ridge, right?
correct. It is.
Innsbrook Ridge, right?
That's right. Have you been up there, Pete?
I've seen it. Yes, I have driven through it. I've not been through the houses, but I have been there. Yes.
Pete, you need to go.
I hear it. I hear you guys say that to me all the time.
No,
Yes.
I'm serious, Pete. You need to go.
Okay. Oh,
So Innsbrook Ridge, it's up off of McAndrews, kind of up above Vista Point subdivision. It's a gated community. It's all the homes in there are built by Sam Sarich, who won Builder of the Year last year. All the homes have amazing views, incredible architecture, high-end finishes. Prices in there, you can have something custom built for about $650.
$650, is that the low end of the Innsbrook Ridge?
It is, and there's currently a listing up there that's 1.19 million.
And how many total homes are in the Innsbrook Ridge in that development?
It's going to be there's 60 lots total.
Okay.
11 so far have either sold or are currently under contract.
Okay, is that good? I mean, is that
Well,
is it a
that
start?
price band is a little slower to move,
Sure.
but it's a darn good start.
It's the price there that you're facing in terms of a very exclusive kind of a neighborhood, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, right. To certain people, we'd look at the stats and the $1 million homes, $800,000 homes. There's a lot more on inventory than there is in the lower price homes. So yeah, you're going to have a different deal with working on those types of things, Jeff.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of folks wouldn't balk at those prices in Ashland. Ashland has sort of historically been the more high-end market. But Medford is really changing. The economy is really changing in the valley. And these homes are definitely up and coming. There is definitely a market for them. And we are seeing a lot of growth in the economy in Medford.
Okay. In the interest in them, who are the people? Are they new people coming into the valley? Or, 60% of sales in Jackson, Josephine County are local people buying up, down kind of thing, right? So where are you getting where are they coming from, Trevor?
So far, I would say most of them are actually physicians.
Physicians?
Yeah,
Okay.
some of them have just relocated here recently, and then some of them are well established here in the community.
And we've heard that other people have said the same thing. We have a lot of the medical community is driving a lot of the purchases, upper end purchases. So that's
It
bears
is.
out with that.
It is. And so my wife and I, we're fortunate enough to work with the Asante physician recruiters, and their plan is to recruit as many as between 35 and 50 physicians per year for the foreseeable future.
Jeez, that's a lot. Wow, there are that many out there even to do that. It's very interesting, isn't it? You had another development on the west side that was different from Innsbrook Ridge.
Yes, this one is much different. This one's called Anjou View. It's on Thomas Road.
Right.
Homes in there are going to be between 1,450 square feet up to 1,957 square feet.
Okay.
They're going to average in price about $170 a square foot. All the homes are going to include granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, custom cabinets, front and backyard landscaping with fencing, high efficiency heat and air, and they're going to have a smart thermostat. It's going to be Nest.
All right. And how many lots are in this area?
19 total.
Okay.
2 have sold. We currently have 1 listed on the market. That one's listed at 329, and it's 1,957 square feet.
329,000 in new construction.
Right.
Yeah, that's not
And
too bad there.
that comes to 168 a square foot.
And that, Jeffrey, that's in that 350 and lower range.
That's a fantastic price.
That is where the inventory is so low that these houses, when you get them ready, are probably going to sell. Right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and
likes that, yeah.
And there's another piece to this, and that is that the rental market is so tight in the valley, and the prices are going up. I'm working with a client right now who was just the place she's renting was just purchased by an investment group, and they're raising her rent $250 a month here after 90 days. They've got to give 90 days notice. We're now shopping for a house for her because she says, for that price, I'm going to get a mortgage.
Well, it seems like for renters right now, and you're right, rents are going up. I mean, and it's we saw a little protest, down Ashland regarding rental increases, and I think you're going to see the Oregon legislature take that issue up, by the way, in January regarding some sort of rent controls stemming from Portland, but moving on down to here.
That would be
it's
interesting.
affecting us here. And gouging people is not the way to do it. But the problem here is how do we solve this here? I mean, we're in trouble here.
Well, I guess you can kind of look at San Francisco as the model, and probably 4 or 5 years ago when things really started to heat up there, you had a bunch of investors kind of jump in to the market and start building apartments and condos. And I think that same thing has happened in Portland. And so when that did happen in San Francisco, I think a lot of these properties are getting ready to come online, and I think that's going to slow things down a bit as far as the accelerated appreciation. And like I said, I think the same thing's about to happen in Portland. I know that there's a lot of properties up there that are about to come online. And then when you drive around Jackson County, West Medford and parts of East Medford, you see a lot of apartments and a lot of other type of condos coming.
There is some coming. I agree with you there. Out by Bimart on West Main out there, there's a whole new group coming on.
Yes.
But the demand seems to be so high, especially for low-income apartments and people on disabilities and
it certainly
veterans and VA. I mean, all these kind of things. We have no places for renters. Do you guys see, governments changing? What would you like to see in terms of additional dwelling units allowed on properties? A lot of times you don't allow this kind of stuff, but it seems to me we got a real problem here. And renters are being forced out, and that's not good.
There's a lot of issues that are really pushing this whole issue. One of the issues is the whole Airbnb notion. And if you've read it in the national news, if I own a house and I can rent it out, say, to Trevor and his wife for $1,000 a month, but if I can put that same house on Airbnb and make $4,000 a month renting it to vacation renters, what am I going to do? I'm going to get the $4,000 a month.
Now, is there any Airbnb going on in the valley right now?
Absolutely.
There is.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
Is.
Yeah,
but,
and there's lots of regulations around.
I was going to say, like the city of Ashland, you can't do that in. Can you?
You can, but you've got to meet certain very stringent requirements.
Okay. So people are doing. To me, if I'm going to buy a property or something, or an investment property, or have a ADU on it, I want to be able to earn money if I can from my property, right? To help me, pay for it, whatever, right?
Of course,
earn income. So there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but somehow that's got a bad stigma to it of allowing additional units. I think they're going to be coming, I hope so, more of them. They certainly are in Talent. We see that, over garages, stuff like that. You think that's something
I think that's something that could alleviate some of the problems here for available rental properties for sure.
Yeah.
Not to mention helping people who have older parents that they need to take care of, or just people who have adult children who, for some reason, come back home.
Yeah.
It also addresses an issue of population density. How many people do we have in a given area? I know Ashland has worked really hard to have relatively high population density.
Right.
And they're now at a point where they're starting to revisit some of the zoning in some of the areas because I think, Trevor, you were looking at statistics for number of new houses built in Ashland. Do you have those handy?
I think he said it was like, 6?
It was not. I was having a hard time believing those numbers. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about those, Trevor?
Well, it says for year to date this year, 6 new construction homes have sold in Ashland compared to 13 last year.
All of last year. And Jeff and I looked at each other and said, that's about right.
Yeah, they're just running out of space.
Because they have infilled it.
Right.
It has infilled. Now, Medford is going through a program, I think, of infilling also before you expand out. I've heard that the city council is looking at more incentives to come back inside than keep going out, which would make some sense. It seems to be a lot more room in Medford in the city to more lots, I should say, that are available. Obviously,
right. Well, the state of Oregon has some very specific rules about development relative to urban growth boundaries.
Right.
And so you really have to fill in your urban growth boundary before you can start trying to push out.
But if you don't have, like Ashland or Jacksonville, where you don't have much of an urban growth boundary, there's nowhere to push. See,
then you have to start going back and revisiting those spaces and saying, well, I guess we can put 2 houses on that lot.
Then we'll go back to
more high rises downtown.
Exactly. That's
It's not an easy answer to it.
No, there's no simple answer.
It really isn't. In each city, what's interesting about the where we live is Medford approaches it one way, Ashland approaches it another way, Eagle Point another way, and as a result of it, we have a kind of a mix of rules and things like that really don't make a lot of sense to a lot of us. Anyway, we're with Trevor Boucher and Jeffrey Nagel from John L. Scott on our John L. Scott Market Watch show on the Real Estate Show today on KMED. Don't you dare go away. We're coming right back to AM 1440, FM 106.7 right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED, October the 29th of 2016. Pete Belcastro here with you today. Next week here on the Real Estate Show, we'll talk about mortgage interest rates and what's going on with those around, whether you're looking for conventional loans or USDA, VA loans. We'll get you an update on those, credit scores, and all that kind of thing with Guy Giles next week here on the Real Estate Show. 2 weeks from today, the KMED auction will be going on, so we're getting the week off as we do once a year when they do that. So that's in a couple of weeks. Today on the Real Estate Show, Jeffrey Nagel and Trevor Boucher, John L. Scott real estate brokers, are with us here on KMED talking about the market, winter selling, all sorts of things going on. It's a dynamic market. I mean, high demand is out there. There's just a lot of activity, whether you're in all areas. I mean, I was in the title company the other day, and they were full. I was amazed at that, and people buying, and selling properties. Anyway, as we continue on, fellas, what is the thing that concerns you the most right now? I mean, I always talk about markets when they get demanding like this. Is there an issue out there that our listeners should be aware of that is going to hold things up, potential problems if they're buying and selling right now? You got anything out there?
Absolutely.
All right.
The number one issue is appraisals.
Yeah,
I actually got a call just a couple days ago. I'm representing a buyer. We were ready to close 2 days before Thanksgiving. It was going to be great. She was going to be moved in for Thanksgiving. Got a call from the lender and said, hey, you got to push it back till the 30th of November. He said, we've had 4 different people turn down the appraisal job. Finally got somebody, and they can't even get to it till next month, the 22nd.
Now, what does that mean? Tell me what that means when they say appraisers turned down the job. What does that mean?
It means they're overwhelmed with work, and they've got so many jobs to do. It's tough for them to get to new jobs.
So in the meantime, what do you do? I mean,
exactly what Jeffrey said. You have to extend escrows. So your typical escrow nowadays has gone from 45 days as being the average time to about 60.
Well, Rick Harris, who was here last week, he's the president of the SOMLS, said that very thing. He says you better allow 60 days to close right now because you can't find an appraiser.
Yeah, it was interesting because about a year ago, the feds passed a whole new set of rules, TRID as they're called.
It was supposed to make this go away.
Well, one of the things that happened was in the TRID rules, if you're the buyer, when you're buying the property, you must have 3 days to review that appraisal.
Right.
So if you get that appraisal the day you're supposed to close, you still have to have 3 days.
Okay, so that would extend the 3 days.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Exactly. Everyone's got to have time to review the documents, which is great. But when we have this one little piece here that's slowing us down.
All right. Now, Trevor was able to speed his up. You were able to speed one of these up, but this is kind of weird. So tell people how you did that.
Well, we did have a scenario where the appraiser couldn't get out there for about 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
So talking to the lender for our buyer, he said, there's a possibility that if you pay a premium, it could be done quicker. And so our buyer agreed to pay a $200 premium, and it bumped it up by about a week.
So it's almost like what is that? It's a bribery. It's just kind of a
pay to play.
But that's not my point though. That's not the way the system's supposed to be. I mean, I've heard people, and again, one of our other shows was that some people who want to close will pay a premium of over $1,000 to get an appraiser there faster. are the appraisers playing that game with us to where they want extra money, so they're going to gouge us to say, if you want it done within time frame now, you got to pay more money?
I don't think so. And I think Jeffrey was talking earlier. He had mentioned the acute shortage of appraisers here locally.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is that it takes upwards of 2,000 hours of training to become an appraiser. You're essentially an appraiser apprentice. The pool of appraisers, the folks who are out there doing it, are mostly an aging population. They're getting ready to retire, and there's not a whole lot of folks who are coming in to join the ranks. So as those folks retire, this shortage is going to get more and more acute, and the time it takes to close is going to get longer and longer.
So they're not being replaced the appraisers are not being replaced as they retire. Therefore, the shortage is going to continue, you're saying.
That's my understanding.
And then, okay, if that scenario holds true, then the premiums that people are going to pay, well, that just seems really screwed up. I don't know. This is getting to be a mess, boys.
It seems like the answer would be to revisit the lengthy apprenticeship in order to become an appraiser.
Yeah, well,
yeah, because
okay.
we absolutely want top-notch people doing the property appraiser. It's protection for both seller and buyer.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a real problem we're going to have over the winter. We're going to have to keep an eye on that.
Well, you know what?
To see what happens. I just don't like the fact. The only thing that bothers me is that if I've got a buyer and the buyer's going to pay for the appraisal, right? Yeah,
correct.
The buyer pays for the appraisal. Is that, well, you're going to say to your buyer, Trevor, Jeffrey, that, well, if you want to put another $1,000, another $2,000, we can get the appraisal done probably tomorrow. But that just seems wrong to me, and I don't know. Anyway, but that's we'll see how that comes out. Tell me, go ahead.
Well, Pete, there's an interesting side effect of this, and that is that the market tends to slow down in the winter.
Right.
And so prevailing wisdom has always historically been, well, you're not going to sell as much in the winter, so a lot of folks will tend to wait until the spring to put their house on the market.
Absolutely.
Here's the problem. There's more volume happening in the spring and summer. So if you're trying to sell your house, the ideal time to sell it is now, because in the spring and summer when there's more volume, it's going to take longer to sell it because
there's more competition.
And the appraisal problem is not going to go away.
The appraisal problem, you're right.
Correct.
So that's
appraisers
hanging out
would be
there,
stretched
isn't it,
thinner.
there?
That's right. So if you're on the fence about, well, should I list my house now or should I wait till the spring? I would say talk to a realtor now.
Yeah,
because it could take you longer in the spring,
and you have more competition in the spring, whereas the winter months. Some people say, "Well, I got the holiday season. I don't want to be messed with that," and I understand that. You got a family, you can do that. But if you don't, and it doesn't bother you, people seem in the winter months. At least my experience with it has been people looking in the winter are pretty serious. Because it's winter. They're not just out. In the summer, people, let's go out and look at houses. But in the winter, you're more serious about it. Is that true?
I'd say absolutely that's true.
Yeah, that's all right there.
I mean, look at the weather we've had the last couple of weeks. And if you're out looking for a house, you're pretty darn serious.
Yeah, you absolutely are. Now, tell me about if someone, you're thinking about doing this again. I'm thinking about buying, but maybe I'm going to wait until the spring will be more inventory, etc. But my buying power goes down the longer you wait. Isn't that true? Explain that to our listeners, would you?
Okay, just to keep numbers round, let's do a little scenario here. Okay. Say you're got your eyes on a house that's priced at $300,000.
All right.
And in East Medford, just to keep numbers round again, appreciation year over year was about 10%.
10%. Okay.
So,
all right.
So you're saying that's going to go up $30,000 a year.
So Trevor, that house is going to be worth roughly $330 next year.
Right. Is that what you're saying? $330 next year?
If the market continues to appreciate.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you take $30,000, that's the appreciation. Divide that by 12, that comes to $2,500. So each month that you wait to buy that $300,000 house could potentially cost you $2,500 a month.
More.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in other words, Trevor, if my buyer says, I'm just going to wait till the spring to buy, I'll start looking around April, it's going to cost them $15,000 more for the same house?
Correct. And there's another way to look at it. That's the appreciation that they missed out on being in their pocket.
Good point.
Right. Because,
also, what about interest rates?
Yeah.
Everybody keeps saying that they think they're going to go up. The feds have raised rates. They've hinted that they're going to raise again. So typically, when the feds raise rates, mortgage rates follow.
And every time, every week, in our office meetings, we look at those interest rates, and they have kind of stayed the same, haven't they? Though.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a nice surprise.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I don't think they're going to go up. And the reason I say that only is that if they go up, the ball game's over. because that $300,000 house that you're getting now at 3.5% or maybe 4%, if that goes to 5.5%, well, your buying power is a whole lot less, and you're going to have to get something a lot less. So that's out there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's both for buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
If you're a seller, interest rates are low. That just increases the pool of buyers that could potentially buy your house.
Yeah, and of course for renters, as we talk about, the way the rents are going up, that they are probably paying more in rents than they would pay on a mortgage, based upon the low interest rates that we're experiencing right now. That seems to be a real happening out there.
Absolutely. I've got a buyer I'm working with right now. I think I mentioned earlier in the show. She just was told her rent's going to go up $250 a month. We're getting her into a house here in a couple months. She's going to pay less for her mortgage.
And she'll get equity, and she'll build wealth for herself.
Tax benefits.
Throwing just away the money on a rental.
Room for
I understand
grandkids.
that. Hey, the Real Estate Show, one more segment to go. We're with Trevor Boucher and Jeffrey Nagel here on the John L. Scott Market Watch Show. We're coming right back to KMED. Hey, right after this. Real Estate Show rolls on KMED, and this October the 29th day, Pete Belcastro here with you. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. We're also on YouTube at Real Estate Show Oregon. Catch them out there. Anyway, some great shows in the past. Hope you look at them, and I love your feedback as well. Today here on the show, wow, we're looking at November coming up, Halloween, the holiday season, and well, the real estate market in Jackson, Josephine County is still just humming along pretty well. The demand is just amazing to me that so many people, we talk about it, why people want to come here. Trevor Boucher is telling us about some of the physicians that Asante is bringing in. We hear that a lot. We hear also, of course, just business in general coming in. Retirees coming up from California are certainly part of that mix as well, and we don't think it's going to slow down. I agree with you guys. I was always I get accused all the time of being like the pessimist, on things, but because I'm always skeptical. But I'm telling you, the way this market, as we watch it every week, it is really quite strong, and I don't see it slowing down really for some time because of the things that we're talking about. Do you guys see that?
Not at all.
Not at all. There's projected growth here is amazing. I'm hearing rumors that Medford's projected to double in population in the next 22 years.
Well, they've been saying that since back in the 90s, and Jackson County is going to double its population. Thank goodness it hasn't. And I hope that we plan ourselves out in the future to take care of the needs, which are mixes of housing.
Absolutely.
Single family units. You got the mixes there at Innsbrook Ridge, the high end. You've got the 300,000, less than 300,000, new construction, apartments, additional dwelling units, low income housing, manufactured homes and parks. I mean, we have a demand in each of those areas, don't we?
We do. And in the same way that appraisers are, the lack of appraisers is slowing down real estate transactions, I think that to some extent the lack of skilled labor is slowing down the development here for new housing.
It's a huge issue. I'm part of a networking group with a bunch of contractors, and we had a meeting this last month, and we asked, what is your number one issue? And literally that was it. They said it's lack of skilled labor.
Brad Bennington of the Southern Oregon Builders Association has been sitting where you guys are, has been moaning that for years, that the lack of skilled labor is costing developers more money. It's costing consumers more money because they can't finish on time, because they can't find the subcontractors, and on it goes.
The interesting thing is one of the contractors had hired a guy who had moderate skills, offered to pay him $20 an hour. This is more than I would normally pay him, and he said, "I'm paying you a large salary to get you started, because I need you." A month later, the guy called him up and said, "I want $24 an hour, or I'm quitting."
I'm quitting.
Well, guess who's going to pay that price?
Yeah, the consumer is.
The consumer is, exactly.
Well, I'm hoping that Road Community College, they got that bond passed, back in May, into the technical skills area, and I hope that RCC really takes that on, because we really do need skilled labor in the valley. No question about that. It really it ends up costing more because we don't have that kind of thing. So we got a skilled labor and appraisers, boys. That seems to be
to throw into the mix. I guess I'm hearing from a lot of contractors that there's people in the marijuana industry that are taking the skilled labor.
That's funny, because I was just going to say the exact same thing.
Really? No, I've not heard that one. That's interesting, though. That makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, but what I'm not understanding is I know that they got to build fences. I know they got to do irrigation and planter boxes, but beyond that,
trimming the pot plants, $20 an hour.
Well, I think Alice Lima was here a few weeks ago, and Alice was saying that the recreational world has moved from the growing now into the warehousing, testing, clipping, manufacturing, edibling, whatever that they're moving it. So that is moving, and we talk about it a lot, but it's really affecting real estate.
Pete, did you just invent a word there, edibling?
Edibling. I don't know what that means.
Well, guys,
you got to make edible, I guess, huh?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, talk about our election just for a second.
Be careful.
But not our election.
Right.
I'm going to talk about California's election. I believe California is going to pass their laws relative to legalizing marijuana, and I think that's going to take some pressure off of our market, and those folks who are working our market now may end up moving south. That'll be interesting to see.
Well, we'll see what California does, because California, I hear Reed or whatever, is not going to have. Well, it's all about growing it and where you grow it and how you control it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's a whole other story, isn't it? That before we get out of here, you both are brokers. You got any listings you want to share with? They're in short supply, so there's buyers out there. So, Trevor, you got a listing or something you want to share with us?
Absolutely. So, my wife and I, Gina, we have a listing at 4467 Murray Hill Terrace. That's in the Innsbrook Ridge Development Gated Community. This one is currently listed at $749. It's 3,509 square feet. It's on an oversized 0.2 acre lot. The finishes are amazing. It's got a wolf range, granite. Like I said before, Sam Sarich, the builder, won Builder of the Year. Incredible.
He was here, by the way, in our show last year.
He's
us
amazing.
about he is quite a builder. I will say that. And loves the little things he adds to homes. I got that out of him.
What stands out to me with Sam is just his passion for his work. And it shows in his homes.
Absolutely. And what's the price on that one?
$749.
$749. Jeffrey, you got one you want to share?
Absolutely. I've actually just taken two listings. They are commercial properties in West Medford. One of them's at 1020 Court Street, the other at 315 Boardman, and they actually share a common parking lot. One's on Court side, one on Board.
Okay,
and the street kind of goes through in the back. Small little buildings, about 850 square feet apiece, and they share 10 kilowatts of solar power generation.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, very nice.
All right. Got another one there, Trevor?
I do. We have that other one on the development we were talking about, Anjou View. 1780 Thomas Road, listed at $329. That's 1,957 square feet. Two-story, brand new construction.
Now, are those in the city limits? Are those in the city?
Both, yes.
Both of them are
Correct.
In the city limits there.
Yes, sir.
So you have all of those things there. Yeah, well, that's always good to have, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's nice to have city services, not have to worry about a well or a septic. A lot of people prefer that.
Yeah, and wells and septics, we can all tell stories of those that are out there, as you well know. You got anything else for us here today? You got a book that you have been. Tell us about your book, Jeffrey Nagel.
Well, I work with a lot of home buyers. I work with a lot of folks who are looking to buy a house, and I began to realize that they all have the same questions. I felt like a broken record. I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. So I actually wrote a book for new home buyers or folks who maybe haven't bought a home in a few years. Call it The Home Buyer's Companion. Be happy to share it with folks if they are interested in buying a house and aren't really sure where to start. Give me a call, and I'm happy to give them a copy and sit down with them.
That's pretty good. Trevor, I can't do that.
I know. You didn't tell me you were bringing me on with somebody that wrote a book about real estate. Thanks a lot, Pete.
We have an author, a real estate author in the house with us. Well, good luck with that, and good for doing that, because you're right. People do ask many of the same questions, and because we're all seeking the same kinds of end results.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Well, it seems like most folks are buying a home with somebody, partner, and there's a lot of crucial conversations that have to happen.
Absolutely. You can find Jeff Nagel or Trevor Boucher at you can Google them or go to johnlscott.com as well, and they'll both be willing to talk to you anytime you'd like to meet with them. That's for sure. Thanks for being here today, fellas, and good luck to you. We'll do this again in a few months and check back in with you again, all right?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Pete.
Do it for the Real Estate Show. Have a great week, everybody. For Joe Brett, I'm Pete Belcastro. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next week here on on
listening to the Real
KMED.
Estate Show on KMED Radio, presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, along with John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon and Bank 34 Mortgage. For guest contact information, download our free app, or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. This show is produced by Table Rock Productions. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED. And thank you for making the Real Estate Show part of your weekend.